Hey guys, my name is Matsumo, and welcome to your episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. The first question for today is, as a longtime player of Siege, I feel that newer players are being rewarded while devoted players have been forgotten. As seen with the base operators for free, but no renown payback for veterans, what do you think? So if you're not aware of what he's referring to, basically Ubisoft is making a change where if you buy the standard edition of Rainbow Six Siege, you're going to have all base 20 operators unlocked from the very beginning. On top of that, they're also making it so that all of the renown costs for the attachments is being removed. No longer are you going to have to go through the monotonous task of unlocking every single attachment for all of the operators, which can literally take up to hours. Now, some of you are probably thinking right now, well, this sounds fantastic. Why are people upset about this? Well, the reason why people are a little annoyed is that they're not giving back the renown if you purchase the original operators or if you purchased the attachments for all of these operators. A long time ago, if you guys remember when they removed the ACOG scope on Jaeger, they refunded that renown. That is not going to be happening with this update. And so while I do see where people are coming from, I understand why this would rub some people the wrong way, but I feel like we're taking something that should be positive, like this is amazing for newer players and even for veterans, and putting a negative twist on it. Ubisoft isn't taking anything away from anyone here. They're actually giving back to the community. On top of that, you're gonna have a hard time convincing me that you wouldn't have purchased all of the base operators and their attachments knowing that in a couple of years, they would have been free for all. Of course not. You had your fun, you got your use out of them, and well, yeah, it kind of stings a little bit that the newer players are gonna be able to get them for free. You had your fun with Rainbow Six Siege. It's not like they're taking that away from you. Now, the one argument that does resonate with me a bit more, though, is that if you just purchased Rainbow Six Siege for the first time a couple of weeks ago, you got all the original operators, you purchased some of their attachments, if you now learn that all of those things would have been free if you just waited a bit longer, then yeah, that kind of sucks. And I do understand where they're coming from. And so I think one nice gesture that Ubisoft could make to the community is give everyone 25,000 renown once this change is implemented. Yes, that doesn't cover the cost of every single attachment that you purchased over these last couple of years, but at least covers those base operators, and then people can spend that renown on whatever they want. On cosmetic items, they can purchase it, for, one of the DLC operators if they don't have that. Like, that would be a good way of handling it. But I can also see why Ubisoft would be scratching their head right now thinking, wow, we are giving things free to the community. We're making all this stuff free, and now you want more? Like, this seems a bit absurd. And so in general, while I do see where you're coming from, and I think that Ubisoft could make some concessions to give back to the community a bit more, I feel like this is a bit of an overreaction. I don't think that they've forgotten veterans. This is going to be a good thing for Rainbow Six Siege, and it seems like we're twisting something that should be a positive attribute and making it into a negative. But of course, that is just my opinion. The next question comes from Brandon, and it is, what if defenders could destroy Lyon's aerial drone? I realize a lot of people think that Lyon is going to be overpowered when he comes out, and they've been coming up with a bunch of different ideas on how to limit his potential, and this has been a popular one. A lot of people think that it'd be cool to have this interactivity between, the defensive team and his drone, where you could run outside really quickly, take a couple of shots, and then bring it down. The thing is, though, is that I feel like this would just make his gadget completely worthless. First of all, one player went through all of the maps and discovered that practically all of them, you can see the drone from the inside of the building. If you open up a window, there's a lot of skylights on these maps where if you literally just look up through the skylight and people are going to discover these spots, you can see the drone from the inside. You don't even have to leave yourself exposed by running out to try to take this thing down. You can do it from the comfort of practically your spawn. That would be a problem. Now, some people might say, okay, well, if that's the limiting factor for this idea, well, then why not just move the drone so that you can't see it from the inside of the building? The problem with that idea, though, is that people would just still run out really quickly at the start of the match, look up, find the drone, take a couple of shots, and then bring it down. there's no interaction between offense and defense. Lyon thinks that he has this awesome gadget that he's going to be able to help out his team, but then it just becomes worthless because it's gone. They took it out from the sky from the very start. Now, some people might argue that this implements kind of a risk-reward dynamic into Siege, where if you want to take care of the Lyon drone at the beginning, you have to run outside to leave yourself exposed, where offense could quickly take you down. The issue with this, though, is that there are some maps where defender can run outside of the building for a solid 10 seconds, and no matter where offense spawns, they won't be able to get line of sight on said defender. If you're on Theme Park, for example, I've seen people literally run up to the top of the building as a defender, reinforce the hatch, and then get back inside to safety without anyone on offense being able to get a shot off. That would give anyone plenty of time to look up at that drone and take it down, once again making his gadget completely obsolete from the very beginning of the match. And so all in all, while I do like the idea of bringing in more risk-reward type of systems into Rainbow Six Siege, I just don't think this is going to have the desired effect. If Ubisoft does deem that Lyon is overpowered, if the community really does think that this guy is too much, I feel like there would be better ways of nerfing his potential and not just making him obsolete from the very beginning. The next question comes from Joshua, and it is, what do you think of the banning character system in the Pro League, and do you think they will implement it into the game for everyone? I am really excited to see what's going to happen with the ban system, because while I don't think it's quite ready for everyone, I think that they need to fine tune it, and I also think they need to bring in more operators. I honestly think that it is going to be a great addition into Rainbow Six Siege. First of all, this will make sure that if Ubisoft ever does bring in a new operator, or let's say they buff an old operator and they become overpowered, that gives the community the agency and the ability to just straight out ban that character from ranked play. If you don't want to deal with Ella, well, just ban her. Granted, your team wouldn't be able to use her either, but at least you don't have to deal with that operator. The community can basically manage itself in those situations, and while I still think that Ubisoft needs to go on in and make the nerfs to the operators that are deemed overpowered, we wouldn't have to wait 6 months like Ella was before that nerf was implemented. We can just straight out ban her from ranked matches if people deem her to be too good. That would be incredible. This also is going to change up the meta if it ever is implemented for everyone. Mira on some objectives is almost impossible to deal with if you don't have a well-coordinated team. If you don't want to have to deal with a Mira down below in basement, we'll just ban her at the very beginning. Now defense is going to have to rethink their approach. They're going to have to change how they approach those objectives because you can no longer rely on Mira. Now, the reason why I don't think that we're quite ready for everyone to have access to this ban system outside of the Pro League is that I just don't think that there's enough operators in Siege right now. If people wanted to, and they just wanted to troll not only their team, but the enemy, they could ban Hibana and Thermites. That is going to be a nightmare for anyone who wants to play this game competitive to not have someone who can get through reinforced walls. I feel like we're going to need a third breacher to avoid those situations. Honestly, we're just going to need more variety in the operators in general that kind of do similar tasks. And then finally, I'm really curious to see how Ubisoft is going to work around the problem of who decides to ban the operators. If you're with a bunch of random people, 5 randos together, well, who's making the decision? Is it some random person? Is it based off of rank? How is all of that going to work? That's another thing that they're going to have to overcome. And so in general, while I do think that eventually we're going to have a pick ban system implemented to rank for everyone to enjoy, I don't think that we're quite there yet. I'm excited to see what happens with the pro scene, but I do think that for the vast majority of the player base, it is still going to be a ways out. The next question comes from Landon, and it is, what do you think about the new reload changes coming to Siege? Personally, I really like this new system. If you're not aware of what he's referring to, Ubisoft is adding in a new mechanic where if you're reloading and you still have a couple of rounds left in your mag, if someone rounds the corner on you, you can cancel that reload animation by quickly aiming down sights. Now, of course, you're not going to have a full mag, but if you had 10 rounds, that 10 rounds could mean the difference between you winning and losing, and you might come out of that alive. You could sort of do this before. The way that you would cancel the reload animation is by switching on over to your secondary and then switching on back. It was already in the game, but it was kind of a slower process, and this is going to just make things a bit easier. Now, there will be a few growing pains. I remember on the technical test when I was especially using a really slow reload, like a LMG, for example, there were times where I canceled the reload on accident because things were popping off. I needed to aim down sights. I thought the reload was done. I ADS'd and it canceled it. That is going to take some adjustment. But for the vast majority of the weapons in this game, it didn't take me all that long to acclimate to the new system. There will be some growing pains, but I think overall it's just going to give more control to the player, which I think is a good thing. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's episode of Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. Do you think that Lyon is going to need some adjustments when he goes live? Do you think that he's going to be just fine? Let me know down below in the comment section. As always, if you would like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can also leave a comment or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.